He didn't think twice, just dropped the groceries and lunged forward. The woman had missed a step, her heel snapping against the marble stair edge, and before she could tumble down, his arms were already around her. The sound of her gasp, the sharp crack of falling files, and the pounding of his own heartbeat filled the quiet lobby. For a moment, they just stared at each other, his chest rising fast, her wide eyes locked on his. He had no idea that the woman he'd just saved was one of the most powerful CEOs in the city, or that this single encounter would change both of their lives forever. Daniel Kahn didn't look like the kind of man who saved people. At least, that's what he thought about himself most days. He was a single dad, 34, running on caffeine, hope, and exhaustion. Every morning was the same: pack his daughter's lunch, make sure her homework was in the bag, drop her off at school, and rush to his delivery job. He wasn't a hero, just a man trying to make it through the week. But life, as he was about to learn, doesn't ask for heroes. It just throws you moments that change everything. That morning, he was running late, as usual. His daughter, Amara, had forgotten her science project at home, and he'd sprinted back up 3 flights of stairs to get it. The building lobby was crowded, filled with office workers and the sound of hurried footsteps. That's when he saw her, a woman in a sharp gray suit, heels clicking, phone in hand, looking like she owned the world. And maybe she did. She turned, trying to avoid bumping into someone, and her heel caught the stair edge. Time slowed, the files in her hand flew open like birds scattering, and Daniel's instincts kicked in. He dropped his bag and leapt forward, catching her just before she could fall. His arms wrapped around her waist, steadying her as she clung to his shoulders, breathless and stunned. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice a mix of concern and adrenaline. She blinked up at him, cheeks flushed. Yes, I think so. You just caught me." He smiled awkwardly, picking up her scattered papers. "Good reflexes. Comes from chasing after a 9-year-old. She laughed softly, the kind of laugh that slipped out when you didn't mean it to. "Then I owe your daughter a thank you." Daniel didn't know who she was, and she didn't tell him. She just thanked him again before rushing off, heels clicking against the marble as if nothing had happened. He thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. That woman was Leena Rahman, CEO of Rahman Industries, a tech company that seemed untouchable. She was known for her sharp mind, her relentless discipline, and her unshakable image. But lately, that image had cracks. Loneliness crept in after board meetings and late nights staring at the city from her penthouse window. Saving her that morning hadn't just stopped a fall, it had jolted something awake in her. Days later, fate crossed their paths again. Daniel was delivering lunch orders to the same office building. He didn't notice her until he heard a familiar voice. "You're the man from the lobby." He turned and froze. She was standing by the front desk, in a dark blue suit this time, hair tied back, eyes brighter than he remembered. "Oh, hey, the almost fall lady." Her laugh was genuine this time. "Leena," she said, extending her hand. "And you, Daniel." Their handshake lingered for a second too long, just enough to make them both notice. She asked if he had a minute. He did. One coffee turned into 2. One conversation turned into a dozen. Leena found herself fascinated by his simplicity, by how he talked about life, about his daughter, about learning to cook because someone had to make her pancakes. Daniel, in turn, was drawn to her quiet strength. She was powerful, yes, but human, and behind the confidence, there was something fragile. Something he wanted to protect, even if he didn't understand why. Their friendship grew in stolen moments, short lunches, evening walks, texts that started with business talk but ended with laughter. But beneath it all was an invisible wall. She was a CEO. He was a delivery driver. 2 worlds that weren't meant to touch. Then came the day her company faced a crisis. A major contract collapsed, and her board began turning against her. Rumors spread fast, headlines harsher than truth. For the first time, Leena felt small. The people who praised her success were now questioning her worth. That night, sitting in her car in the rain, she didn't call her assistant or her PR team. She called Daniel. He showed up without hesitation, soaked from the storm, holding 2 cups of coffee. She looked at him, tears barely hidden. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. "I know," he said softly. "But you needed someone who's not afraid to see you like this." And she broke. The walls, the poise, all of it. She cried, really cried, for the first time in years. Daniel didn't say anything. He just let her be. That silence healed more than words could. In the weeks that followed, the crisis passed, the company stabilized, and Leena began rebuilding, stronger, wiser. But something had changed. She realized that in all her years chasing success, she had forgotten what it meant to be seen, not as a CEO, but as a person. One evening, she visited Daniel's small apartment. Amara ran to the door, excitedly waving her art project. Leena knelt to see it, smiling warmly. "You're really talented," she said. Amara grinned. "Daddy says you're his friend." Leena glanced up at Daniel. He smiled shyly. "She talks too much." "Maybe not enough," Leena replied softly. That night, after Amara went to bed, they stood by the window, watching the city lights flicker. "You changed my life, you know," she said quietly. He chuckled. "Pretty sure you've done fine on your own." "No," she whispered, turning to him. "You reminded me that I'm more than my title. That I can fall, and still be caught." For a moment, the world outside disappeared. The distance between their lives didn't matter anymore. She reached for his hand, and he didn't let go. Months later, they walked those same marble stairs again, the place where it all began. This time, she wasn't falling. She was laughing. And he was right beside her, carrying Amara's backpack in one hand and her heart in the other. Sometimes, love doesn't arrive in grand gestures. Sometimes, it begins with a stumble, and someone willing to catch you before you hit the ground. And as the camera fades, her voice narrates softly, "He saved me from falling once. I've been falling for him ever since."